Hey, my name is Kehinde Elisha, founder and CEO of MP Certification Academy LLC. I'm here to present to you tonight Domain 1 of the ANCC Pmhnp Certification Examination. Before I get started, I'd like to give you the breakdown of the domains. Domain 1 is the scientific foundation, is 20% of your grade. Domain 2 is advanced practice skills, is 25% of your grade. Domain 3 is 25% of your grade, and that's the diagnosis and the treatment. Domain 4 is psychotherapy and related theories, which is 15% of your grade. Also, and lastly, Domain 5 is ethical and legal principles, which is 15% of your grade. To learn more, go to www.nursingworld.org. That is the official website for ANCC examination. So Domain 1, what is the breakdown of the examination? It contains advanced pathophysiology, advanced pharmacology, advanced psychopharmacology, neurodevelopment, neuroanatomy, and neurophysiology, and psychogenomics. Neurodevelopment, neuroanatomy, and neurophysiology. How does it affect our exam, and how much should we really know on this particular subject? So neuropharmacology actually linked directly to neuroanatomy, I meant to say, actually directly linked to neuropharmacology. And we're going to find out how. Let's get started. So components of the neuron. On page 64 of the Pmhnp guide, 4th edition, there are 3 components of the neuron. We have the cell body, we have the axon, and we have the dendrites. The cell body is also known as the soma. It contains the nucleus and the cytoplasm. The axon carries impulses away from the cell body. When you think axon, think of the letter A for axon, and it takes impulses away from the cell body. The third part of the neuron is the dendrites. It collects incoming signals and sends it towards the cell body. So when we say axon carries impulses away, A for away, automatically we should be clued in that dendrites will do just the opposite. It's going to collect the incoming signals and send it towards the cell body. And here is the diagram towards on my left side, showing the cell body, the dendrite, and the axon. This is just an extension of the component of the neuron, a little bit more detailed. We have the PNS towards the tail or terminal branches, and we have the CNS. This is not really relevant for the examination. If you can understand the basic neuron such as this, it's just enough. The nervous system on page 64 was broken down into central nervous system. The nervous system was broken down into peripheral nervous system, the central nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system further breaks down into autonomic nervous system, somatic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system breaks down into sympathetic and parasympathetic. The somatic further breaks down into sensory and motor output. Well, how does this affect us in psych? Sympathetic is also known as fight or flight. It is a neurotransmitter, norepinephrine. Norepinephrine have a lot of roles to play in psychiatry. Sympathetic is the fight or flight. Parasympathetic is the rest and digest. This is pretty much the acetylcholine, and we will learn more about the neurotransmitters as we move on in this video. The neuroanatomy of the brain. On page 64, your book talks about the gray matter and the white matter. The brain is categorized into white matter or the gray matter. White matter is myelinated axons or neurons. The gray matter is composed of the nerve cell bodies and dendrites. This is the area that contains the synapses. Synapse plays a major role in psychopharmacology. This is just to isolate or show the grooves and the gyri. When you think about the grooves deep down, and it contains the sulci and the fissures. The gyri, think of gyri for something to rise up, is that at the raised areas of the brain tissue. Now we have the brain divided into 2. We have the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, as simple as it is, it actually plays a major role. Because as the brain goes down the tracts, it actually decussates. So sometimes the symptoms that we see on the right is not what we're going to, The lesion that we see on the right does not manifest on the right, it manifests on the left because there is a portion where the brain decussates. Cerebrum. There are 4 components of cerebrum: the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe. How do you remember all this? The frontal lobe, think of it as carries out the executive function. Like the executive director sits in the front. They plan, they execute, they make decisions. They carry out major tasks, pretty much controlled by the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Okay? That is the frontal lobe. The parietal lobe, think of your parent. Your parent wants you to eat. When you eat that food, you're going to taste it. Your parietal lobe is huge when it comes to sensory functions, like taste. Also, your parent wants you to go to school to read and write. Your parietal lobe carries out that function. It helps you read and write. Occipital lobe, think of it as you having a bodyguard watching over you, that is stand right behind your head to watch you, to oversee, to make sure that you are safe. Occipital lobe will help you see. The temporal lobe leans right close to the ear, and this will help you hear. We're going to learn more about the other cellular parts of each lobe, which you will likely see on your test. You may not see the exact word that says frontal lobe. You may be seeing some other components of the frontal lobe. Stay tuned for my next video. Thank you for watching.